Welcome to Great Shot. This is the Great Shot podcast, a Cracked Racquets and Tennis Channel podcast network production. My name is Alex Gruskin. The first Grand Slam of the 2020 season officially in the books. Novak Djokovic with his 17th Grand Slam title. Sofia Kenin, the 21-year-old American, winning her first of potentially many Grand Slam titles in her career. Such a fun weekend of action to discuss. Joining me on tonight's podcast to do just that, you know him as the co-host of our mini break podcast, a former Denison superstar. Of course, I affectionately refer to him as James Falsta McDonald. Jamie, hey, great shot. Welcome back to the show. Fun weekend of tennis, right?
Appreciate it. Yeah, multiple weekends, and it all ended in dramatic five-set fashion. So very good, lots of fun.
I think a lot of us may have had Djokovic teams circled in our potential finals for the Australian Open men's side, but I don't think anyone on Turnitopia had Garbine Muguruza, and shout out to them if they did. But we got a little bit of everything. We will get to a winners and losers segment later on in the show, and by the way, we are also live on YouTube, so to any of our viewers watching this stream, to any of our podcast listeners who want to see Jamie and my smiling faces while listening to our Australian Open breakdown, we say hello to you now, and I suppose hello to you in the future. But when we get to the winners and losers, one of the things I have circled from the semifinals and onwards, you got a little bit of everything, and we didn't have the chance to mini break this weekend. We will explain why in our announcements at the end of the show. But this was, in terms of dream scenarios for the first Grand Slam of the 2020 season, exactly what I think we could have wanted.
Yeah, it had everything, right? It had crazy comebacks. It had big-time five-set matches. Had some crazy three-setters on the women's side. You have a young American champ. Yeah, a lot of things, at least here, at Biased Cracked Racquets, really happy about.
Yeah, we had next-gen players in Sofia Kenin, guys we consider next-gen in Alex Zverev, or at least a guy. Dominic Thiem, not next-gen by age, but certainly a fresher face. But if you like Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic, you got them in the semifinals. If you like Grand Slam champions, Halep, Muguruza, Ashley Barty, all Grand Slam champions participating on the women's side. We've talked a little bit about the women's semifinal. We talked about half of the men's semifinal on the mini break podcast we did last week. So if you missed anything from the Australian Open, go check out those mini break podcasts now to get you all caught up. The only semifinal match we didn't talk about, Dominic Thiem and Alex Zverev. Rather than break that down, I do want to talk about how the Zverev match set up Dominic Thiem for the final in our first breakdown of today's podcast. The match I want to start with, the match I think we have to start with, given the five-set nature of it, is the men's final. Novak Djokovic versus Dominic Thiem. Novak Djokovic, last year's champion, a guy who had 7 Australian Open titles heading into this Grand Slam final. He emerges as the winner once again of the year's first Grand Slam, 17th title of his career, as he takes a 6-4, 4-6, 2-6, 6-3, 6-4 win over Dominic Thiem, who is making his third Grand Slam finals appearance of his career, but his first outside of the French Open. I think rather than say just your preliminary thoughts, we have to take this on a point-by-point basis, because I think the biggest takeaway from this match was the momentum swings, Jamie.
Yeah, for sure. And, there's some obvious ones you circle right off the bat. That weird sort of third set where Thiem just completely blows Djokovic out, but Djokovic just kind of looked dejected, similar to what we saw him do for a set or so in the Wimbledon final against Federer. So maybe that's just something he does now. I don't know. I don't know if I'm still as confident in saying in my deep theory that I think he gives away sets so that he can say he wins 5-set thrillers. This is more proof for it. That's all I'm saying. I won't go crazy down the tirade. But no, you're exactly right. The momentum shifts were insane in this match, and it was great because from start to finish, who was going to win? Who knows, right? There were plenty of chances for Thiem to get back into this thing in the 5th set. Ultimately, Djokovic holds on, right? But really entertaining from start to finish.
You talk about next-gen finalists and people who are, that because we keep wondering, is anyone outside of the big three going to break through, finally win a slam? And you look in terms of the guys who have come closest, Dominic Thiem in making those 2 French Open finals. He loses to Rafa, I think, in 3 sets and in 4 sets in those 2 matches. Daniil Medvedev coming closest this past fall at the U.S. Open. He goes 5 sets with Rafa, but he was down 2 sets to love in that match. And then in this one, it's not that Dominic, that the match win 5 is on its own impressive, but Dominic Thiem built a 2-1 lead in this match, and I want to start with how we got to that point, because from the first set, you look at how it broke down, and I know the time zone difference is so difficult. That is one of my losers as well. When we get later on, I'm so happy to be done with the Australian time zone. No disrespect to the Australian people, but it's just a far way away from where I am. It's hard to follow all of that. I think we all felt that a little bit towards the end, the sleep deprivation, certainly if you were trying to cover the tournament throughout it. But you look for Dominic Thiem and how he built this lead. In the first set, it's interesting because it was all Novak Djokovic. He immediately breaks Thiem right off the bat to go up 2-0. He had a couple of break chances, I think, to go up 4-0 in that first set. And then all of a sudden, we still found ourselves at 4-all. Dominic Thiem clawing his way back. And that was a sign of things to come, Jamie, because for Djokovic, he was finding his spots. He was moving well. He was hitting his targets, certainly from the baseline, finding the Dominic Thiem backhand. But what was so remarkable is that even from the get-go, and sure, Dominic Thiem 5-6 years younger than Novak Djokovic, but it was very clear that physically Dominic Thiem was not only ready to hang, but was capable of hanging with everything Djokovic brought. And that was what was the standout fact to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's really impressive. Obviously, on its face value, right, you shouldn't be surprised that a guy like Thiem is so physically fit. But you talk about some of the draining matches he had throughout this. You talk about how much energy he puts into every single ground stroke. So, yeah, it is impressive in a way that he was able to stand up to that test and not only just I don't know. He put himself in a good position, right? I mean, he didn't roll over after Djokovic plays a solid first set. He comes back and ultimately wins the second and third. Obviously, we talked about this a little bit. Djokovic certainly helped him with the third quite a bit. But Thiem climbs back, like you said, finds himself in a really good spot up 2-1.
Yeah, what stood out to me from those first three sets was I thought Djokovic, in particularly on the deuce side, really went after serving the Thiem forehand. He wanted to open up as much space for himself on the court, keep Dominic Thiem on the run, because we saw Dominic Thiem, who was really looking to hit as many forehands as possible, not only inside out, but inside in from that ad side, not let Djokovic comfortable. He wanted to be the one dictating the terms. We saw Djokovic do a really good job of not letting him do that in the first set. We even saw, Dominic Thiem double faults that first set away, right? And you're like, oh, maybe those are the jitters. He works all that, works so hard to get that break back, and to double fault that set away, that's brutal. But one of the themes we saw early on, and this will carry out throughout the match, in that first set, Dominic Thiem makes 73% of his first serves, 22 of 35 on those points, but 3 of 13 on the second serve. When Djokovic could step up on a return, use his backhand in particular to dictate the terms. And Djokovic, he did a really good, disciplined job of attacking the Thiem backhand. But of course, he's perfectly comfortable and kept Thiem honest by playing his backhand down the line, taking all the space Dominic Thiem was able to give him. He also wasn't afraid to mix in the drop shot, sneak forward behind it, because there were times when Thiem was, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 10 feet behind the baseline. It was a really solid set from Djokovic, but in that first set, he couldn't really hurt Dominic Thiem. A lot of the times, for Djokovic in that first set, he wins it, but 9 winners against 14 unforced errors. Throughout the first 3 sets, the match was played on Dominic Thiem's terms. And when you're playing one of those big 3 guys, that is so rare to see someone not named Nadal, Federer, or Djokovic do that to another big 3 player.
Yeah, and we talked about Thiem sort of being in a short list of guys who can really do that, right? Who can dictate points from the ground against a guy like Djokovic. And yeah, like you mentioned, that's how he gets out to this good start. Now, a lot of times too, Djokovic, we've seen him have phenomenal results even when he's not in quote unquote what we would typically call control. I'm sure he feels very in control in a lot of these scenarios. But yeah, you're right. A lot of this was on Thiem's racket. And in order for him to get this, particularly that second set, he played clean. He did. And finish line, that's how he knew. I mean, I was very happy to see that things evened up. What I absolutely didn't want to see was a straight set Djokovic win. And needless to say, we were treated to something much better than that.
Yeah, for Dominic Thiem, 13 winners against 11 unforced errors in set 2, 11 winners against 7 unforced errors in set 3. He was patient. He only came to the net, I think, 5 and 6 times in those 2 sets. He knew, if he could withstand Djokovic making 10 balls, if he could make that 11th ball, Djokovic was going to give him an error. And we saw Djokovic's level dip throughout those second and third sets. And that's something you, of course, have to mention. The commentators, were speculating, is he injured? Is that something? And, if you've seen Novak Djokovic, it's that when he brings his best physicality throughout, through the duration of a 5-set match, it may not be in set 2, but it's in sets 1, 4, and 5, as we saw in this one. That is when he plays his best. Although we saw Djokovic break back for 4-all in that second set. Team then, stays disciplined, gets the break right back. Djokovic actually blows up. He yells at the chair umpire. It was a weird moment. You did feel like Djokovic, for the first time, felt some pressure, felt like the match was getting away from him. And then for Dominic Thiem to immediately break Djokovic to start set number 3. Again, this sort of gets into that good take, bad take, hot take range. But after set 3, did you feel like Dominic Thiem was in control of this match, Jamie? Or did you always feel like there was that second gear coming from Novak?
It's hard to doubt it, right? You always feel like, okay, there's another gear somewhere, and it's the ultimate shock when one of the big 3 doesn't find it, right? When the upset happens, you're like, what just happened? Why didn't he find, that top gear? And, you mentioned real quick that the pressure that was put on Djokovic, and that's interesting because Thiem put pressure on him in a lot of ways. I think it started with the serve, particularly in set number 2. So effective on it. 81% is his winning percentage on first serve, wins half of his second serve points as well. Those percentage is much higher than Djokovic's. It was dictating, as we mentioned, and he was just putting pressure every single point on Djokovic. And obviously, he cracked a little bit, right? He had that outburst, but we've seen Djokovic do that. That's a tactic. He has his outburst. It gets him set. He resets. This one was a little weird, though, because then he still has that lull in the third. Then I think people are starting to think, wow, Thiem can really do this. But as great champions do, of course, Djokovic finds it.
But when you think about Djokovic losses normally against, and usually they only come against the absolute best players, although in those rare cases when it was a Dennis Istomin even, but the Stan Wawrinkas, the Roger Federers, maybe Rafa's its own case because that matchup style is such a special match. They know each other's game so well at this point that it looks a little bit different. But to beat Novak Djokovic, you have to hit him off the court. And I don't think that's what Dominic Thiem did. It was, again, so remarkable to see. It was the physical aspect for Dominic Thiem that he was able to track down 1, 2, 3 extra himself, throw in a slice backhand low to the Djokovic backhand, throw in a low slice backhand down the line, just to get Djokovic out of that ad side of the court, get him moving into the outer thirds. It was so remarkable to see Dominic Thiem take control of the match through those second and third sets. And yet, and here's a hot take for you, Jamie, it almost felt like that Super Bowl last night where, sure, the Niners, Dominic Thiem, they may have more weapons, they may have more individual things that can hurt their opponent, but the sheer greatness of Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs, the sheer greatness of Novak Djokovic, he gets so solid in sets 4 and 5, just becomes that brick wall we've become accustomed to seeing. That's how he pulled away. It's that, sure, I threw away 2 of the sets, and threw away is the wrong word. That's not giving enough credit to Dominic Thiem. But he hit that extra gear in sets 4 and 5. And I don't know. Do you think the result more a testament to what Djokovic did right or what Thiem couldn't do?
I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to Djokovic here because Thiem's level was really high. Like you mentioned, he wasn't afraid to play the game with Djokovic. He wasn't at all. A lot of times I saw Thiem in backhand rallies was incredibly impressive. I mean, we know how solid Djokovic is from the ground. Thiem didn't mind. He would go cross court with him a few balls. Then he'd mix in a slice. Then he wasn't just saying, oh God, it's the third ball. I got to slap a winner or else he's going to outlast me. He was in there and he was rallying. And so that was very impressive to see. And I think only bodes well for the future. I got to say, love the Kansas City plug there. Anybody who's viewing or listening to this, if you don't know, I am recording from Kansas City. Lovely place. It's been absolute chaos in the streets since Mahomes led the comeback, but great reference there. Phenomenal. 10 out of 10. Keep sprinkling those in for me, okay?
Well, because it's live video, I can say you look remarkably well put together for someone who had those emotions. I'm sure you did last night.
Let me tell you what, I didn't look great this morning, but hey,
Yeah, and for Novak Djokovic, I think the biggest thing was how solid he was. He made 70% of his first serve in set number 4, won 89% of those points in set number 5, only made 66% of those first serves, but won 84% of those points, 60% on the second serve in set 5, 50% on set 2, but he's only hitting 8-second serves, in set 4, but he's only hitting 8-second serves in that set 4. The biggest difference, and in 2 sets, there were only 2 breaks each. Djokovic getting one in each sets 4 and 5. For Dominic Thiem, even though he won 87% of his first serves, 2 of 9 on those second serve points in the game he got broken. I think it was 3 or 4 of those second serve points happened in that game. The margins are so thin when you get to a Grand Slam final. You're already at 5 sets. You look at the total points won in this match. For Dominic Thiem, he wins 147 points. For Novak Djokovic, it's 157. Dominic Thiem, 28 of 62 on that second serve, 45% conversion for the raid. When Djokovic was able to take control of the point, he was able to dictate the terms. Thiem just didn't have quite enough juice, whether it's moving forward to the net. Thiem, 23 of 31 in this match, but that's probably just not enough when you're playing a guy who's as solid from the baseline as Novak Djokovic. Djokovic, it's a testament to his greatness. He's not playing his best tennis. He's not finding winners for Djokovic in this match at the Stats Plus. He's plus 12 on the forehand side, but you look on the backhand, he's minus 6. That's not something you usually expect from Djokovic. But he did enough, just physically too overwhelming, and he gets Grand Slam number 17, Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately that's what we come to expect. Sometimes reading the stat lines is almost misleading when it comes to looking at a guy like Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, somebody who has just proven that they can figure out how to win matches. I mean, ultimately, we'll probably get to this later too, but great example of that was Federer. Multiple matches in this tournament he probably should have lost, but because he is who he is and he finds a way to win, he gets across the finish line. And I don't want to say that's all Djokovic did in this, because he did have some phenomenal stretches of play in this to overcome Thiem as well. But just that extra element, right? He knows that he can win the slams, and in the deep moments of the fifth, when the pressure's on, when Thiem is creating opportunities, getting deuce games, getting break points in the fifth set to get back on track, Djokovic is able to hold on. And yeah, that's what happened.
In a match decided on the baseline, who was going to be more solid from during those rallies. Djokovic plus 12 on the forehand, Dominic Thiem plus 3. 17 winners, 11 forced errors, 25 unforced for Thiem. But on the backhand, even though Djokovic is minus 6, Thiem's minus 15. Djokovic found the backhand just enough. And now you look for Djokovic at some of the stats that he accumulates with this win. Yes, it's his 17th Grand Slam, but just looking at the big picture, Djokovic, and it's kind of stupid, but he's the first player in the Open era to win a slam in 3 different decades now. Rafa could very easily accomplish this come French Open, but that is a cool start to his decade to have done that. You look at what the big three have now accomplished. They've won 13 slam titles in a row. That's their second longest streak. They won 18 from the 05 Roland Garros to the 09 Wimbledon, 17 of those 18 coming from Fed or Rafa. You look for the big four, had a streak of 16 slams from the 2010 Australian Open to the 2013 U.S. Open. If not for Del Potro in 09, the big four would have won 35 single slams in a row. All of those stats coming from Ricky Diamond at Diminator. And there was some discussion on tennis Twitter, take it with a grain of salt, but about Pete Sampras and how he must be feeling to just see these guys race past him so immediately. And it's like, hey, I got 14. Like, I was pretty good at the time. And that's maybe a discussion for some different point. But for Novak Djokovic, we talked about this during the week, 17 slams now. He's 3 away from Fed, 2 away from Rafa, but 6 away from Serena. When he looks like this on a hard court, he lost 3 total sets for the entire slam once again, and it didn't even feel like he was playing his absolute best tennis at any point. The number 20 just seems so obtainable for Novak at this point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we talked about this, like you mentioned, what was that, a few pods ago now, and absolutely obtainable. I mean, I think right now, Djokovic definitely the favorite to come out ahead in terms of the Grand Slam race between Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. And then when you take Serena into the equation, I mean, yes, Serena could win a couple more, but Djokovic's form has been incredible, especially compared to Serena on her comeback. I don't know. I think Djokovic absolutely reaches 20, beats Nadal and Federer, and then also passes Serena. I mean, it's hard to bet against him at this point.
Yeah, I think let's save that for good take, bad take, hot take, because we can re-examine whether that is the smart take or not when we get to that point. But it's definitely going to be something to monitor. And as a little transition stat, there have been 11 different winners in the last 13 singles majors on the WTA circuit. For the men's side, you would have to go 57 majors to have 11 different winners. That comes from John Wertheim at Sports Illustrated. That's remarkable. That speaks to the dominance of the Federers, of the Djokovic's, of the Nadals, and throw in some Andy Murray, Stan Wawrinka love in there as well, as they both have 3 slams. Novak Djokovic continues to show this sort of form, this sort of resiliency. It's a testament to why he has been so good in this era of the big 3. Why, despite Rafa and Roger putting together what was easily 2 of the most intimidating careers at the start of his career, he's been able to rise to that level, to meet that sort of excellence. And it's why it's such a fun thing to experience as a fan of tennis, to watch this greatness unfold. It's a testament to his success. But I bring up the 11 different winners in the last 13 majors. On the WTA side, we had another new winner there at this Australian Open, 21-year-old American Sofia Kenin, who looked so good on her run to this final. She had dropped 1 set on the way there. She knocked off Ashley Barty in a topsy-turvy semifinal. She ultimately took that one, I believe, 7-6, 7-5 in that, decided to set up a match with 2-time slam champion Garbine Muguruza, who, after losing her first 2 sets of the tournament, had looked so good the rest of the way. She knocked off a very much informed Simona Halep, 7-6, 7-5 in her semifinal win. And this was an exciting final from the start. This match going 3 sets, Sofia Kenin ultimately emerging as a 4-6, 6-2, 6-2 champion. What was so incredible, Jamie, is we talked beforehand, Muguruza, the one with the bigger weapons, at 6 foot, her forehand, her backhand, her swinging volleys, a little more sting than Sofia Kenin. And yet it really did feel like this match was played on Kenin's terms.
Yeah, I mean, look, she came in here and she was able to, I don't know if impose is the right word, but at least play the game that she wanted to play, right? The game that had gotten her this deep in the tournament. And, after that first set, I mean, people have mixed feelings, right? But Muguruza looking solid, she was able to push the issue a little more, play her game style. Just phenomenal job by Kenin to be able to bounce back, especially in that second set. And then third set, I'm sure we'll get there, but really just riding the momentum, getting the critical game, and then just holding on to the lead. Very impressive from the young American.
Yeah, and Garbine Muguruza came out firing. She had a game plan. Sofia Kenin, a good mover, especially if you give her balls in the center. It's not only her movement, but the way she moves the ball around the court into the outer third. She plays slice, she plays drop shot, she plays lob. She's not going to let you get comfortable. She'll take 2 shots across in one line just to get you out of your rhythm. And yet Garbine came out swinging. In particular, in that first set, I thought her use of the serve and volley was something particularly special for Muguruza in that first set in particular. You look at her stats on the match, 16 of 24 at the net overall, but in set number 1, she goes 10 of 14. So, 6 of 10 the rest of the way, but in that 10 of 14, 71%. She didn't let Kenin make that extra, third, fourth, fifth ball and let that one lob that you think, okay, maybe this one's drifting out, drop in, that Kenin hit so often later on in the match. Muguruza came out swinging. She came out dictating. 15 winners against 17 unforced errors, but against Kenin in that first set, 9 winners for Kenin against 15 unforced errors. It did feel like Muguruza was going to have enough power to work Sofia Kenin, to overwhelm her, to hit her off the court. But we talked about it all week long with Kenin. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. She just makes that extra ball. She makes you think, okay, maybe the drop shot's coming here, and then it's actually a backhand slice that goes deep. Her variety, Jamie, it overwhelmed Muguruza, and in the end, that 2-all game in the third set we can talk about in a second, but it was that Kenin did just enough to wear Muguruza down.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the variety. I think that's a great point because, it's a similar thing to how we see Ash Barty really disrupt people's rhythms. That's how she's gotten and ascended to the top of the game. It's because, so many of these players, Muguruza, a great ball striker. If you're giving her shots and rhythm from the ground, you're in trouble. And she was able to get a lot of those in the first set. Granted, she just played very cleanly as well. But I think Kenin really, looked introspectively and said, look, all right, what do I need to do here? Like, I need to impose my game of being, I love a good crafty game. So being a little craftier, right? Mixing things up, throwing in the variety, not just giving Muguruza the same looks. And once she was able to execute on that, not that this match was over, but she's in a much better place and she's got to feel like she's in some control.
In the first set, the shot that Muguruza used particularly well to set up those swinging volleys was the backhand down the line, taking that ball early. And even though she had success with that, that was the play Kenin kept forcing her into. It's okay, you want to move forward, you're going to have to take a backhand down the line, because between the slice and just the heavy spin, the short angle, Kenin kept targeting that Muguruza backhand side. And Muguruza in the match, 3 winners, 8 forced errors, but 17 unforced errors on that backhand side. She goes -6 there overall. She started pressing then more on the forehand side. 11 winners, 6 forced errors, but 8 errors to be -1 on the forehand, -6 on the backhand. Compared to Sofia Kenin, who in this match is +1 on her forehand, but +9 on her backhand side. She was the more solid of the two players. She forced Muguruza into errors. She forced Muguruza, as I mentioned, to start pressing. And then overall, you look in the match, the winners and unforced errors reflect that. Kenin in this match, 28 winners against 23 unforced errors. Muguruza, 32 winners, but 45 unforced errors. And, when it's crunch time, when the pressure's at its highest in these Grand Slam finals, often it comes down to who can be the more solid player of the two, who can execute their plays without forcing them, without forcing it, without drawing or without giving too many unforced errors to the opponent. Kenin was the one who was the more solid of the two. She wore Muguruza down. She didn't let her just tee off on forehands. I keep mentioning it, but it would go 2 backhand line, 2 backhand cross, 1 backhand line, or forehand cross, then forehand short angle to open up an on the rise forehand for herself down the line. It was all working for Sofia Kenin, and it's why I think so many people are now so excited about the young 21-year-old's future.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you have to be. And something she did a really good job of, too, is just knowing when to apply pressure to Muguruza. And throughout the match, she learned, more and more how to do it. So particularly in that third set, really focusing in on the Muguruza second serve. Did a great job of returning here. Muguruza only wins 20% of her second serve points in the third set. And that's a testament to Kenin being able to put that much pressure on her and put her in difficult spots right at the beginning of the rally so that Muguruza isn't in a comfortable position anymore. She can't just dictate on her first shot after the return. No, she's in some awkward situation. Kenin can either wrangle control of the rally, or Muguruza's just in an odd spot, not able to hold her serve. And ultimately, Kenin keeps getting breaks, runs away with the third.
And we talked about this all week long with Sofia Kenin, how effective it's not just her first serve, but her second serve. She's over 50% in matches, wins 65% of her second serve points. In this one against Muguruza, wins 64% of her first serves, makes 74% of those first serves. Now, to Muguruza's credit, she had her chances. 2 of 12 on break points versus Kenin's 5 of 6. But again, it's because Kenin kept chipping away. The game I wanted to mention, that 2-all game in the third set, Muguruza races out to a 15-40 lead. Kenin plays one of those long points where it's short angle, make a backhand slice. And I believe the two ways she won the point was she opened up a forehand down the line for herself, and she forced a Muguruza backhand down the line error. And those were the 2 plays that worked for her the most. Get Muguruza in trouble. Keep making that extra ball. How many times do we watch Muguruza in lieu of taking an overhead, or watch a forehand lob or just a stretch get from Kenin bounce right on the baseline and just drop in? And it's a testament to the grinding mentality of Sofia Kenin, who at age 21, now you talk about the list of players on the women's side born 1990 or later who have won Grand Slams. All of these players, either 30 or under at this point. Kvitova's won 2. Muguruza's won 2. Halep's won 2. Osaka's won 2. Ostapenko, Stevens, Wozniacki, Barty, Andreescu, and Kenin now. All winners, and all still playing very competitive tennis to win majors in this decade right now. It's why I got to stop revealing my takes, but if I told you we're going to have another year of 4 different Grand Slam champions this year on the WTA Tour, I feel like that's not shocking at all, because Kenin now puts herself right on that list up there with all of these players who have shown they're capable of winning a Grand Slam.
Yeah, and look, we've talked about it multiple times. We talked about it certainly just casually when we're looking at the draw. There are so many threats in the women's game right now. You're looking at the draw. I mean, there's just a gauntlet for anybody to get through. That's why you're looking at that's a tough seed. That's a tough unseeded match. Oh God, this person has to be X, Y, Z just to get to the semis. I mean, everywhere you look, there's danger on that side, and there isn't somebody right now who has asserted themselves like a Djokovic in the women's draw, just waiting to pounce on whoever comes out through the other side, right? And so it makes it exciting, right? Because at the beginning of the tournament, midway through, you still don't know who's going to win. There's still so many people who you think, wow, they could take the title, and this is just another example of that with Kenin taking it here.
I mentioned that stat about the players born in 1990 to win slams. That came from Gaspar Lenza. I mentioned the 11 different winners in 13 majors on the WTA side. You even look at the slam semifinalists from the start of the 2010 season through this Australian Open. 15 different semifinalists on the men's side, 34 different on the women's side. That comes from Enrico Maria Riva. For Sofia Kenin, she becomes the youngest American to win a slam since Serena, the youngest Australian Open champ since Sharapova won it in 2008. She's going to jump up to number 7 in the ranked American to make a top 10 debut since 1999. She adds herself to a list. Here's a fun stat for you. The list of female players to win their first Grand Slam title, having never reached a Grand Slam quarterfinal before. From 1980 to 2016, Jamie, guess how many WTA players did it?
Outside of Kenin?
No, from 1980 to 2016.
Oh, 2016, not included now. Sorry. Well, let's say 4.
So from 1980 to 2016, only one WTA player won their first title, having never reached a quarterfinal before. From 2017 to now, we've had 4 different players do it. It speaks to the fact that there are so many of these young WTA players right now who are displaying a level capable of winning a Grand Slam. It's why I think, one of my takes from earlier in the tournament, Diana Yastremska, if we see her make a semifinal this year, I don't think it should shock anyone. If we see Iga Swiatek make a semifinal, I don't think it should shock anyone. Even if we see Donna Vekic at age 23 make a semifinal, that shouldn't shock anyone. And those are 3, random players. None of them, not random, but none of them top 10 players, I should say. And that speaks to the depth right now on the WTA. But it speaks to the level Sofia Kenin displayed throughout this tournament. She dropped 2 sets. That 7-6 set to Coco Gauff, and then the 6-4 first set here to Muguruza. Jamie, Sofia Kenin has gone on sort of a victory tour on Twitter. It's fun. You see all the videos. The video of her and Kleisters, that one's incredible. The video of her, Andy Roddick, just all of these things. And it's a well-deserved victory tour.
Oh, absolutely. And it's got to be so cool to be there and, obviously so jealous, right, to have those aspirations to be around the game for so long since you were so young, building and building and building toward this. Literally exactly this is what you're building toward. And obviously she still has so much more of a career and so many more great things to come. But, that's just got to be a phenomenal feeling being able to, all right, I'm here, right? I'm top 10. I just want to slam. Like, we're here. That's got to feel pretty good. I can only imagine.
Yeah, Sofia Kenin, career high number 7. She deserves to be that. She's not, she wins a Grand Slam and she's not number, 3, 4. That speaks to the parity right now on the WTA tour. But for Sofia Kenin, it's someone who took advantage of the moment. Simona Halep was looking great. Muguruza hit her off the court. Ashley Barty, it's her hometown slam. She was playing better and better. Kenin does just enough to survive that match. Coco Gauff, the tell story. Kenin loses the first set, doesn't matter, enough to survive that match. She just did enough to survive, and it was such an impressive run for her to see it on a hard court. She had success last year on clay, on grass as well. Her game is adaptable to every surface, and so is she going to win another slam in 2020? Maybe, maybe not. But she certainly can, and that's a testament to her level, of all of the Americans who haven't won a slam yet. The Keyses of the world, Anisimova, who looked so good last year. Sofia Kenin can now say, I'm a Grand Slam champion. And, of course, as I mentioned, her social media tour, she is certainly a winner from this event. That gets us to our next thing we want to talk about here on today's show, our winners and losers from this Australian Open. Obviously, you look at the men's and women's champion, they are obvious winners. You look at some of the other winners throughout this draw. In the men's doubles, Rajiv Ram, Joe Salisbury, 2 former college tennis players, Rajiv at Illinois, Joe at Memphis. They take home their first men's doubles Grand Slam title for Salisbury. He was outside the top 100, I think, like a year or 2 ago. So to get this Grand Slam title now for both of these guys, a huge moment in their careers. In the women's doubles, Tamia Babos, Kiki Mladenovic, they take home the doubles title. They continue their success from the end of last season. In the mixed doubles final, I'm going to butcher these pronunciations for sure, but Barbara Krejcikova and Nicola Metic knock off Jamie Murray and Bethany Maddox-Sands to bring home the title for themselves. Really fun event, Jamie. You look at some of your winners and losers. Let's start with the winners. Who do you have as some of your winners coming out of the year's first major?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one for me, we'll start on the men's side, Zverev. I think this was a really good tournament for him. There's just been so much chatter about Zverev really not living up to what he should have. He breaks through, gets to the Australian Open semis, plays a really competitive match with Dominic Thiem. More than anything, just proving that he belongs out there, reminding everybody, why he is who he is, why he's ascended to the top of the game and has been there and established himself for the last few years. No, it's not just that he's able to rack up, have some success, but not on a big stage. No, this guy deserves to be on the big stage, and he belonged out there. So that was a big one for me. Good to see, of course, reassuring.
Can we just clarify? Our listeners know that I am a big Alex Zverev fan. I didn't even have him as a winner. I didn't need to. I figured someone else would. I echo that take 100%. Alex Zverev, after the ATP performance he had to make a Grand Slam semifinal for the first time in his career, after that performance to serve as well as he did, to really have a chance to beat Dominic Thiem. He lost a couple of tiebreakers in that match. He went down early break in the second set, but had break points to get that back to 5-all. He sort of did, I'll say, a 0.85 version of what Djokovic did to Thiem, and in that match, Thiem had enough firepower, enough creativity to get through, but Alex probably 3 or 4 points going a different way away from making his first Grand Slam final of his career. So yes, echo your sentiment 100%. He is a winner.
I got a fun one for you here, all right? Zverev. You're a Zverev man yourself. What do you think his win-loss is in Grand Slams?
Just overall?
Yes, overall. Give me something.
So I think he's probably played around 20, right? He's probably played around 20 total, so he's probably got 20 losses.
It's pretty close, yes. 19.
Okay, so 19 losses. I'm going to go ahead and say wow, this is going to be embarrassing, but like 38-19.
That is close. That is remarkably close. 37-19.
37?
Very close. Now, just to compare it, just for fun here, we talk about a guy, Dominic Thiem. What do you think? I'll give you the loss, 25.
Yeah, see, I appreciate that because you tell me how many majors he's played.
It helps.
And it's almost a cheat code. Although I could have guessed he'd played around that range. But hey, that's why they paid me the big bucks, right, Jamie? Hey, great shot, a little sneak there. I just wanted to see your face because we're on video. So if he's got 25 losses, he's made 3 finals, he's made a semifinal, but outside of that, I'm going to say, so my thing for Djokovic or for Zverev, I was like, he's probably average third round, so it's probably a 2-to-1 ratio. For Thiem, I'm going to knock it up. I'm going to say it's a 3-to-1 ratio. So if he's got 25 losses, I'm going to say 75 wins. Actually,
quite lower, 60. It's not much higher. The win percentage is closer to Zverev than people think, right? He's 60-25, 71%. Zverev, like you mentioned, that 2-to-1, 66%. So a little closer. Hey, that's just pro Zverev for you. You're welcome.
I butchered that because Thiem and Wimbledon. I forgot to factor that in. That grass is not a surface that reflects well on those big ground strokes.
Team, am I right?
Oh, that's pretty good. All right. No, I like those stats. I'm going to throw in a winner for me as well. I mentioned anyone who watched semifinal weekend and onwards because we were treated to some fantastic tennis. I'm going to also throw a little flyer out there for Adidas. I mean, Garbine Muguruza rocking the Adidas gear, Dominic Thiem rocking the Adidas gear. They were both finalists, but I thought their gear was really nice. Simona Halep, I'm pretty sure she's another Adidas athlete as well. I think I'm trying to think who else were our semifinalists. Zverev's an Adidas guy, I think, as well. Yes. So they had a bunch of people up there. And then on the men's side, for Adidas to have 2 semifinalists versus Nike, who had no semifinalists. I also thought the subtlety of the Adidas, the green, the blue, the dark colors that they use. I also like the women's kits as well. I thought Muguruza was rocking some fantastic gear throughout her run. Win for Adidas. The shoes are still too heavy for me, so I'll never lean that way. I'm more of a diadem guy myself, and hopefully you, our Cracked Rackets fans, are as well. And if you use our promo code CR50, you can get 50% off your diadem order. But I do want to give a shout out to Adidas because they looked good to start the 2020 season.
Yeah, Adidas had us in a good spot. Probably quite get the run from a guy like Tsitsipas that they were expecting, but outside of that, some good stuff showing up.
Didn't need it. I'm just saying, are you going to walk into your tennis club wearing that subtle, Alex Zverev Adidas shirt or the, 101 Dalmatians jumpsuit that Grigor Dimitrov rocking?
Honestly, if I could pull off the 101 Dalmatians, I'd probably just wear that. But now, Adidas, those guys look good. Hey, they usually do. They usually
I'll
do.
say this. Right now, it's Diadem 1, big drop. It used to be then Nike, but Adidas is sneaking up right next to Nike.
Wow. What about, we're talking outfits here, sort of in the winner-loser category. I think he's probably both in this one. Tennis Sandgren. What do you think of the outfit of Tennis Sandgren?
Well, I mean, he's a winner.
Tennis out of it.
Well, take the tennis out of tennis. So who am I talking about?
Well, just the I not play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you make the quarterfinals, do whatever you got to do. You start the tournament at number 100. You jump all the way back into the top 55. You've earned the right to go sleeveless, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, that's sweet. And it's so funny, too. The commentators just cracking me up. He had iron-on patches for people who approached him and wanting to sponsor him because they knew he had that quarterfinal primetime matchup with Federer. And that just cracked me up to see in a Grand Slam quarterfinal. But, yeah, hey, he looked good.
Was it you who said he looks just like White Goodman? You texted me that, right?
I don't know if I texted you that. I'm pretty sure I had a more descriptive and longer, like, non-character thing.
Yeah,
we won't repeat. But.
Someone texted me. I don't remember who it was, so check my text, but that was spot on. You look at them with the mustache Sandgren was rocking and just the sleeveless look. He wasn't a spare me, Roger. I'm gonna win this match. I won
Ball
that tournament.
Blazer.
Freaking Roger Federer.
He was there.
Yeah, good result for tennis. All right, I have one more winner, but I'm going to use that to segue into our take. So give me your last winner, or if you have no more, let's start running into some losers.
Tennis was my last winner. I just had to segue because you were talking outfits.
Well, no, I appreciate that. I'll throw in one more winner. We should say anyone who used their platform throughout this Australian Open, from Djokovic, Kyrgios, the Simona Halep's, the top players of the world, all the way through to anyone who used the tennis to contribute and bring attention to the fact that Australia was in such need of attention of people to donate their time, their resources for relief for the disastrous wild funds. I don't remember the exact number, but I know it was hundreds of thousands of dollars donated to the cause throughout this. Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, all giving big contributions themselves. But, it was millions of players. It was, from all the way the Sidney Campbells of the world. I'm trying to think. Too many to keep track of is the truth. I don't want to not mention anyone, so I want to simply say shout out to all of them for using tennis again to show what the good the game can do on the court, but off the court, what these athletes, how well-rounded they are, how worldly they are. That is part of tennis being a global experience played throughout the world at all times during the world. So shout out to that. That was really cool. All right, let's get into the losers, Jamie, who, not as cool with their performances.
Oh, man. Well, this really starts to blend with some of my bad takes, unfortunately, because, when you put faith in somebody.
I agree. Can I just say my loser, echo that 100%. It was my Turnitopia selections.
Yes,
what a disaster.
Biggest loser, me. Honestly. No.
Except for the fact that I got Djokovic's team to make the final. It's like, okay, if you miss everything else but get those two right, isn't it okay?
Yeah, fair enough. No, I think that's fair. There's a lot of places to go with this one. I think maybe the biggest one, at least up front, the biggest shock factor, Denis Shapovalov. I know you can list a lot of first-round people becoming that's sort of, I don't want to say a cop-out, but it's an easy answer in a lot of ways. If they don't have a good showing in a first-round matchup, yeah, they're not gonna be happy with their result. But this one just seems too, I guess, big to not mention. I mean, Denis Shapovalov was coming in with some momentum. You and I both thought he was looking really good, a guy super dangerous on the hard courts, and ultimately just was not able to put up a good performance.
Yeah, it was rough for him. Some of the other ones, FAA, Yamir Kasmenovic. I still feel good about the Opelka upset over Fognini. We are a rain delay from that, I think, happening. True. So I'm not going to throw that in the bad takes, but, Madison Keys or Karolina Pliskova, Federer losing early. And, there are some takes I don't regret Kyrgios over Nadal. I'm talking about things I regret while actually saying, no, these are the things I don't. But yeah, there were some bad picks outside. I think we knew it was Djokovic to lose and that he didn't. That was the overarching narrative. I think a lot of people got right. I also think the overarching narrative on the women's side, did people think it was going to be Kenin? No, I don't think anyone can. Maybe a few people out there, but you threw money on that bet. But I don't think anyone can proudly say that. I think we can say that we knew there were going to be. It could be anyone. It could be one of 50 players, and that it was Muguruza and Kenin. We would have thrown them on that list of 50 players. If you're like, okay, is there a world where they reach the final? You would have said, yeah, sure. I see them both playing well enough to do that, but it's a testament to those two as well. See, it's funny, we talk about losers, we turn it into winning. That's the
I think there's a couple. I mean, I think this is sort of a random one, but Yannick Sinner, he finds himself.
Ooh, I like that.
I know this is the same section of the draw here, but this is because, let's be real, this section of the draw in that bottom part of Fed's quarter was an absolute just nightmare. But I mean, yeah, great for Fucsovics, right? And of course, he comes through here with a phenomenal result, ends up making a deep run, taking a set off Fed. But ultimately, it's kind of a missed opportunity for a guy like Yannick Sinner, right? A guy we've mentioned the sort of the responsibility that's supposed to come with winning that next gen final title, right? But then ultimately going up against Fucsovics instead of the 13th seed Shapovalov, and ends up losing in straight sets. Now, Fucsovics played really well and ends up, winning and advancing, then going to play Fed and taking a set off him. But ultimately, I think just a bit of a missed opportunity.
Yeah, another good one to throw on that list as well. There are a couple of next-gen guys you could throw in there for Tsitsipas. I'm sure he did this is not how he wanted to start his season either. For me, and this gets, I'll use this point to get to my last winner and get us into some other takes we have. But, any of the WTA players over the age of 25, because you look at these 24 and unders right now, Jamie, and just how talented they are. Ashley Barty, Belinda Bianca Andreescu, Sophia Kenin, Naomi Osaka, all under the age of 25. And by the way, 4 of them Grand Slam champions, not Bencic. But you look at Sabalenka, the success she's had. Vondrousova's made a Grand Slam final. Donna Vekic, Karolina Mukova, Diana Yastremska, Anisimova, Yelena Ostapenko. She has a Grand Slam under her belt. Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff. Just the list goes on and on and on. And so, Halep, Muguruza, Sloane Stephens, they have their slam titles. And I'm not compete for anymore. But if you're a Karolina Pliskova, if you're an Alina Svitolina, I think Bencic is still young enough to not be thrown in that category. But, the Kiki Bertens of the world, obviously the Madison Keys of the world, the Joe Contas, you're getting nervous. You are awfully nervous that window is closing. And I'm not saying it's closed because I picked Karolina Pliskova and Madison Keys as my finalists. And had you told me had we played this 2020 Australian Open 100 times, I'm very sure there's a world where the two of them do make the finals. But you have to be nervous if you're one of those players. And it's crazy that 24 is the age cutoff because of how good so many young players are. I didn't mention CC Bellis, who you could throw in there as well if you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Look, the bottom line is this: the pressure's on, right? The pressure is absolutely on, and there's so many, so many phenomenal players that you just listed out there. And the hard truth is, because there's so much talent coming up that's young currently, a lot of those names might not ever win one because there's so much talent. So it really becomes, which one of us is going to be able to win a title or two? Because realistically, I would be very surprised if all the names you just listed ended up with winning a major in their time. Because, like you mentioned, there's so much young talent bubbling up, and they're already to contend for titles. They're already taking titles at this point. And so, like you said, windows closing for sure. There's got to be pressure there.
Yeah, and that's why you look at my last winner from this tournament, it's fans of American women's tennis because, even if you don't want to include Madison Keys, Kenin, now a Grand Slam champion. We saw CC Bellis return from injury, make the third round, look really good in doing so. Sorry for those technical difficulties to anyone viewing on YouTube. To get back to what we were discussing, Jamie, I gave my last winner as fans of American tennis, and that's a perfect American women's tennis in particular, and that's a perfect segue to get into our final segment on today's show, our good take, bad take, hot takes. We gave a lot of takes throughout these 2 weeks of the Australian Open, some good, some not so good. So I want to reflect on those, give some takes we have moving forward through the rest of this 2020 season. But the first take I want to throw at you, which involves those American women I'm talking about. And again, just to go through the list of promising players right now in or around that top 50. Serena, Keys, Kenin, Anisimova, Sloane, Ali Risk, Danielle Collins, Coco Gauff, Jennifer Brady, CC Bellis, of course, coming back from injury. My take to you, good, bad, or hot, Jamie. 7 American women will end the WTA 2020 season inside the top 30.
Inside the top 30. Wow. Ooh, that's tough. Top 30. I thought you were going to give me a little more leeway than 30. And
no, because 50 I think is obvious. For Goff, for Bellis, it's like, can they play enough tournaments, stay healthy? If so, you think they can do it for Collins, for Risk. They've done that for Sloane. If she gets her stuff together, obvious do it. Anisimova just did it. Serena, Keys, Kenin feel like locks for sure. But seven's a lot.
Seven's a lot. I'm going to say, is this at the end of 2020 or is it
end of 2020 season?
End of 2020.
A lot of points to defend for a lot of these players.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm going to be a pessimist. I'm going to say no. But I will say this.
No, I don't need a yes or no. I need, is it a good take, a bad take, or a hot take?
Well, I didn't finish. I said no if Sloane doesn't get there. So in my head, I'm thinking 7 and in the top 30. It's not a bad take, but I don't agree with it.
I think it's hot.
It's a hot take, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah. All right. I can appreciate that. Yeah. It would require a lot. Allie Risk, she's in the top 30, but a ton of points to defend at the end of the year. For Anisimova, a lot of good results for her came at the slams. Can she do it week in, week out? Can she repeat her success at the slams? For Goff, same thing. Kenin, she starts off with a bang, but a lot of points to defend for her for the rest of the year. Is there going to be a Serena drop-off? Danielle Collins, Jennifer Brady, are they going to make the leap from that top 50 to the top 30 range? A lot of things have to go right, but again, American women's tennis, I think, is in the position where a lot of things can go right because we have a lot of talented players. All right, either another take from you or some takes you'd like to reflect on.
I got a perfect one for you there. Staying along the same lines, this is good. And viewers, by the way, we didn't even review these beforehand, so wow, it's just clicking here. There will be another female slam winner from the U.S. in 2020. Good take, bad take, hot take.
Ooh. I mean, it's a hot take just because of how many other talented players there are. Like, if I said, okay, Bencic, Pliskova, and Sabalenka are going to win the next 3 slams, you'd be like, yeah, sure, I believe that. If I said, Halep, and Durescu, and Vekic win the next 3, you'd be like, yeah, I believe that. And none of those players are American. But I could also say, I could say, hey, Keys, Sloane got it back, and Serena won the next 3. And you'd be like, yeah, I believe that too. So not a bad take, a hot take, because American tennis on the women's side looks really good, but there are so many other good players as well. I feel like we did do a lot of reflecting in those winners and losers, that a lot of our takes were pretty bad. I thought your take of the winners from the single side will come from the same country was a really good take in the moment. It just unfortunately didn't end up happening. I think we hit the Tiafoe takes on the head. One of my good take, bad take, hot takes is he's going to drop outside the top 100, but he had that loss at Newport Beach as well, but we can talk about him at a later point. Let's stick with this theme of Grand Slam champions. I mentioned it earlier, good take, bad take, hot take. We will have another season of 4 different WTA singles Grand Slam champions in 2020.
Sorry, to clarify, does that mean different as in never have won before or unique to 2020?
Unique to 2020.
Okay. So it could be a previous winner.
Can be Halep, can be Serena, can be Andreescu, Osaka, on and on. It just can't be Kenin.
I'm going to say that's a good take. Yes, that's a good take. I think that's the case.
Right, and for all the reasons,
there's so many people who can win. It's honestly, I mean, you're playing some crazy odds unless you think one person is really going to step it up and separate themselves from the rest of the field in multiple majors. No, I think that's a good take.
All right. I like it. All right. Well, I have a couple more for you, but throw one at me.
Okay. All right. Let's switch over. Are you good if we switch over to the men's side? I know we've been on the WTA side for a minute.
Then I'll throw
another.
I'll throw in my last women's one. Okay. And I threw this take at you beforehand, so you knew it was coming, but I haven't heard your answer yet. Sofia Kenin. We've talked about all of her tools, the slices, the lobs, the drop shots, how funky she just gets you out of your rhythm. Sofia Kenin is the female Daniil Medvedev. Good take, bad take, hot take. In terms of tennis playing style.
No, that's a good take. Yeah, no, I like that. I see a lot of similarities there. Just her unorthodox ability to win points. You definitely see the grit that they both have. They both can get fired up like crazy, but then can also just be locked in and get annoyed with themselves. There's a lot of similarities there.
Sneaky effective serves. Both like the drop shot more than you think. I would say Kendon's strokes are a little more aesthetically pleasing. That Medvedev forehand, you're like, ugh, what am I looking at? And every time he bends his knees for a backhand to get low, I'm just envious as well. But I just see a lot of similarities. Yeah, they make you uncomfortable.
Absolutely, that's how they win. And so no, that's a good take. I like that comparison.
I appreciate it.
Well,
Ben,
that is
the team good takes get us to the men.
That's actually a great segue because one of mine involves Medvedev. So here's the take. 2 Russian men will end up in the top 10 at the end of 2020.
Ooh. I mean, yeah, it's a good take. It's a little hot. What you're saying there is that Rublev's start is legitimate and that all of the points he has to defend in the second half of the season he can do, or at least make up for it in the front half. You're also saying, hey, Daniil Medvedev, you need to make, what was it, like 7 finals in 7 tournaments in the second half.
Well, you at least need to hold on.
Yeah, you just have to hold on to so many points. Rogers Cup, winning in Cincinnati, finals of the U.S. Open, finals of the City Open. Crazy to think about that run in retrospect.
And let's say he can drop a little bit and still remain in the top 10. But yes.
what if this is the year Zverev's like, enough funny business. I'm making quarterfinals or better at all of the slams. We still haven't seen a big Tsitsipas push in 2020. I think I saw someone right now showed the ATP World Tour Finals if the season ended today, and Tsitsipas wasn't in it. Berrettini wasn't in it. Bad take, not bad take, hot take, but I don't think it's going to happen because, I think if Medvedev does it, or even if Rublev, it would be hard for both of them to, and Khachanov, they'll be right on that bubble as well. So hot take, but not a bad take at all. All right, let's stick with Medvedev on that theme. We talked about him making a final. This is a 2-part good take, bad take, hot take for you.
Oh boy.
Part 1, Medvedev came closer to beating Rafa, team did to beating Djokovic. And part 2, the next non-Big 3 ATP singles player to win a slam will not be named Dominic Thiem. Both of those, good take.
First one I think is a good take. I think you can see it both ways, but ultimately he was up 2 sets to love. So he's in a good spot there, right? That's a whole nother comeback that somebody has to mount against. I mean, Thiem was very close in this one. I want to be careful. I don't want to just completely have a recency bias here.
Well, here's the thing. That 5th set for Medvedev was, I think it was 7-5 5th, right? That Rafa ended up winning.
Yeah.
But that was an either or. That was, hey, who's got more left in the tank? I know they both broke serve in that set. Medvedev at 6-6 had the way after the way, because he was down 2 sets to love to Rafa.
Yeah, I guess I answered your question the wrong way. Sorry, your part 1 is that Medvedev was closer than Thiem. Okay, in that case, Medvedev. I might have to flip-flop on myself here. Because he got down to 2 sets to love, but then he came back and had the momentum. Then he had those 2 sets. Had the momentum.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Even when Thiem went up 2 sets to 1, and even though the crowd was on Thiem's side, he didn't break Djokovic in sets 4 or 5. For Medvedev to claw his way back from 2 sets to love in the physical way he did to break down Rafa, the same way Thiem was breaking down Djokovic through the first 3 sets. But Medvedev did it in set 3, set 4, and you're just like, how can Rafa? Where's he going to come up with the goods now? And that he was able to was a testament to the match. The reason why I bring it up is because Dominic Thiem playing tennis all tournament long, right? And I'm hoping to write about this very topic for our Cracked Rackets listeners, for our Cracked Rackets fans on our website as part of my new gig for this Cracked Rackets team, which we'll talk about in a second. But for Dominic Thiem, his best surface is still probably clay, right? And
definitely.
We talked about it all week long. Roland Garros is Rafa's until he loses it. You're not going to believe Dominic Thiem's going to beat him there until he actually beats him there. But if you told me a Medvedev or a Zverev or like Kyrgios takes 2020 really seriously and just is in really good form, or just another one of those young guys wins the U.S. Open and it's not Thiem, I don't think that would surprise me. Like I know Thiem played really well, so that's why in terms of good take, bad take, hot take, I think a lot of guys are pretty close. Let's say Tsitsipas just trees at Wimbledon.
That's the one.
Like, isn't there? Say. Yeah, exactly. There's a world where that happens as well. So that's why I'm curious. Good take, bad take, hot take.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a bad take at all. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with even saying that's a good take because there are so many. Obviously, it's not the WTA, but there are a lot of guys. Ultimately they have to pass the final test of beating one of the big guys. Most likely, it would be a really weird path if they didn't. And so. Yeah, I mean, you've got Tsitsipas, like you said, you got Medvedev or Team, but even if you take them out of the equation, there are other guys who are in the hunt there. Someone like a Zverev who's just fresh off the semifinal taste. Like, there's some other people in that equation. So, no, I don't think that's a bad take. I'll say good take. I'll say good take to both.
I appreciate that. All right, I have one more for you. How many you got? Or any left for
me?
I
have one more as well. So I'll go and then you can finish. Sound good?
Well, because we can do hand gestures on the video, yes, you go first and then I will go.
Beautiful. 0 American men end up in the top 20 at the end of the year.
Wow, that's rude. That's a rude question. And by the way, I'm glad you're on the theme of American men because that's going to be my last question for you as well. Yeah, hey, great shot. Wow.
And to preface, so right now, there's only one in there, and it's Isner at 18.
He's on the precipice of falling out. And he's got a Miami final to defend as well. Tiafoe's like in the 80s. I mean, Fritz and Opelka are pretty close. And Opelka's got that New York Open title coming off his resume soon, but a lot of upside for him, a lot of upside for Fritz, I think, available at the majors this year to get off to his year with a third-round appearance. It's a solid start. It makes me sad to say it, but good take. It's probably a good take.
It's tough.
Yeah,
it hurts. It hurts, but you start looking at the rankings and you're just like
Johnson, Query, probably. It's probably got to be one of
within striking distance, but yes, probably Fritz or Opelka. Maybe Isner,
or maybe Tommy Paul if he just is healthy all season and is
very
ATP
true.
ready.
Very true. He got a good taste of it here at the Australian Open. That's true.
If this was Vegas, he'd be like the 10-1 guy for highest ranked American at the end of the year, and you throw money on him for sure. All right, that's interesting. My take for you, American men's tennis related, my final good take, bad take, hot take. Rajiv Ram gets the first men's doubles slam of his career at this Australian Open. He adds it to his title of mixed doubles, which he won at the 2019 Australian Open. He's also a silver medalist in mixed doubles at the Olympics. He's won 2 singles titles in his career. He has won 20 ATP doubles titles in his career now. You measure that up against the career of Sam Querrey, who has a mixed doubles Grand Slam final to his name, has a Masters 1000 doubles title, 10 singles titles in his career, 2 of which came at the ATP 500 level, 5 doubles titles in his career for Sam Querrey, his career high in the singles rankings, number 11 in doubles, number 23 for Rajiv Ram, his career high in the singles ranking, number 56 in doubles, number 5 in the world, which is what he's at right now. Good take, bad take, hot take. Rajiv Ram has had a better career is so rude. I guess let's not make this a good take, bad take, hot take. Which career would you rather have? The career of Rajiv Ram or the career of Sam Querrey? Because they're both outstanding careers, but which would you prefer?
I mean, just initial gut check. You just have to say Querrey, right? Because of the notoriety. I mean, think of the wins he's had.
I'm ready to disagree with you, but give me your case first.
Well, and it's also think about the fact that you're so close to the game. Think about anybody who's just a little bit more peripheral, right? They probably know Sam Querrey. They've seen his results. I mean, his prize money is much more. Getting up to 11 in singles in the world is very impressive. Not to say that Rajiv's number 5 in doubles isn't, because that's incredible in and of itself. But, oh, God, that's tough. I'm trying to think personally which sort of life I would rather lead. I mean, playing the doubles game is fun. You have that longevity. You know, he got to play college as well. You factor all that in. I mean, it's tough. I mean, my initial gut check, you got to say Sam Querrey. But, I mean, when you look at the number of titles and having something like an Olympic medal, having Grand Slam titles, it puts it closer to Rajiv. I don't know.
Just remember you factored in Olympic medals when you talk about careers the next time we argue about Andy Murray. I lean
No,
towards
no, no,
Rajiv.
no, no. You said career I'd rather have. Get out of here.
I lean towards Rajiv Ram simply because in a culture where slams matter the most, he now has two. They're double slams, but they're still Grand Slam titles. He's got that silver medal to his name as well to represent your country and come out with the silver medal to play with Venus Williams on that stage. And talk about an awesome experience. He's a guy who's made the World Tour Finals. He's a top 10 player in the world in doubles at number 5. Sam Querrey reached number 11 in the world. Sam Querrey's made a Grand Slam semifinal in his career. In fact, that Wimbledon run he had in 2017 to follow it up with the U.S. Open quarterfinals right afterwards. That's probably the best stretch of time that we've had of either maybe of these two players in terms of singles success or maybe just success on the largest stage. But I want to be top 10 at my craft. I want to be top 5 at my craft. And Rajiv Ram can always say that. He, again, 2 Grand Slam titles. He's also won ATP singles titles. He was top 60 in the world. It's not like he was just a doubles player. For anyone who hasn't talked or wants to hear more about Rajiv Ram, many moons ago, I believe Dalton interviewed him on our YouTube channel. I think you can find that there. I will also say this hurts because Sam Querrey, an October 7th birthday, according to his Wikipedia. I'm October 6th. But I'm going to have to go with Rajiv Ram. Just, those slam titles is the kicker for me. And they both had outstanding careers. Rajiv Ram also an NCAA champion. So he's really done it at every level of his career. Singles, doubles, college. He's done it all. And so probably lean. And as someone who also has a very ugly forehand, he relates to me. He calls out to me.
It's so difficult. I mean, look, I'd take either of them. Let's put it that way. So if you're offering them up somehow, I'll take either of them. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm also biased because I'm just such a singles guy. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a good time on the dubs court, but man, singles is where it really all happens for me. So even outside of the fact that singles is much more in the public eye and in the money than doubles, it's about the fact that it's the singles court game, right? And so that's what Querrey has, like you said, got up to 11 in singles. That's impressive. It's tough to decide against Rajiv Ram in that case, but yeah, I think I got to go Querrey.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hold on, I got to ask you this: do you think either of them, if they were asked that question, would choose the other person?
No, Sam Querrey is just happy being Sam Querrey.
Sam
Under
Querrey
no
is
circumstances.
definitely taking Sam Querrey. Is Rajiv Ram ever taking Querrey?
I think.
We could ask him. We should ask him.
I think before 2 days ago or before yesterday, whenever it was for him, he would have said maybe. But now that he's won, he was also mixed double slam, and that silver medal, I'm sure, means so much to him.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. No, I think they're both pretty happy with where they're at. They're like, nah.
As they should be.
Good. Yeah, of course, as they should be. And another person who's very, very happy with where they're at, me, Jamie, as you know, and that gets us to the last thing we want to do. We have a big announcement here at the Cracked Racquets front end. Of course, that big announcement involves me, so it's only fitting that I say I'm the happy one. There's a little segue for you. I wish you guys could see Jamie's face listening to this on podcast form, but it's significant, so we figured we'd make the announcement here. Big news on the Cracked Racquets front. I talked about it a little bit on the mini break, but I am so thrilled to say that I'm fortunate enough to get to move to Indianapolis. For those watching on the YouTube feed, you might notice the I Am Batman poster not currently up on the wall. Haven't had the chance to put it up, nor have I had the chance to shave because throughout the weekend I was finishing things up, and I am now officially in Indianapolis, set up here at CRHQ, aka my house, Daniel Westhoff's house, Parker Thienemann's house, because we are really excited to say we are going to be able to take things here to the next level at Cracked Racquets. From the play-by-play opportunities we're going to get to have, we were in Ann Arbor for the Challenger. We've got the ITA National Indoors for both the men and the women coming up as well. The Kentucky Open, 100K WTA event we're going to be at 1 week from today. So, we're going to get to go on the road. And, with that, we're going to keep these podcasts up. Hopefully you listeners will notice nothing different other than just even more content. We hope kept it as though an everyday theme. That's what we've been trying to do with this mini break. But we're really looking forward to taking it to the next level. And part of that is, as I mentioned, being on the ground at tournaments. And to do that requires resources. So something we're really excited to be launching here at Cracked Rackets our Patreon account, where we are going to have the chance, to provide exclusive content to those listeners who are kind enough, who are interested in subscribing to our content. Jamie, I know I just rattled off a lot of things, but can you talk a little bit about why we want to do this Patreon?
I mean, there's a lot of think, especially and that was very long-winded, so I didn't get a chance to throw in my applause there because, no, Gruskin deserves it, of course, and it's going to be a ton of fun. But with this move with Gruskin, exactly, we're going to have so much more opportunity to bring more and more content on, really brainstorm the extra creative content. So yeah, you've been used to seeing the different pods that we've put out, but really with this Patreon account setup, what we're going to be able to do is offer new things to you, the listener, right? So a lot of that is going to be, hey, this might not be for you if you don't like hearing Gruskin's voice. I'll just put out that disclaimer now. But
why would they be listening at the? I feel like they're at the hour 10-minute mark of the Great Shot podcast. You're not listening unless you're a fan.
Well, they just wanted to see me. It's really just at this point, and then they mute.
No, they're looking for they're like it's like a Jill Simone fantasy.
Right, exactly. That's me. It's a lot of viewers across the world there.
When you can pay the celebrities to say something for you, what is that service called? I don't remember.
I believe that's going to be the Gruskin hotline at this point.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that's essentially this. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's going to be me. Hey, I'm always happy to give somebody a Jill Simone shout out. I'll give my worst impression. I know you've been begging for it for months at this point, but I'm still going to hold out. Maybe if you subscribe and take advantage of this new Patreon, you'll get some lovely Jill Simone impressions. We're not at full liberty to disclose what's going to be on some of that extra bonus footage, but needless to say, it's going to be a ton of fun. Going to be a lot of creative juices flowing, and you're going to get some lovely unfiltered version of our pods, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's things as small as, discounts for some Cracked Rackets merchandise or, ad-free episodes you do. As Jamie mentioned, we were thinking about, if you want to hear what we're saying beneath the quacks, if you want to hear when I say, hey, Westhoff, filing out this story because it's too inappropriate for the public. Well, if you're a private subscriber, that's what you're asking for. So those sorts of things as well. Other things from, we want to thank you, listeners. So, we will, of course, give shout out to anyone kind enough to subscribe during an episode. If you have questions you want asked and discussed during an episode, that will be a forum to submit them as well. Things like the weekend mini break, of course, during slams, that's something we're going to always try and provide. But moving forward, Friday night, Saturday night, those are two big nights in the tennis world. There's tennis all year long. Semifinals, finals typically happen on the weekends. So we want to discuss those. We don't want to just wait for that Sunday night for Monday morning pod. So, it's that sort of content and beyond. There was a time when it wasn't just Matt Sikoyak, Jamie McDonald, our crew of Cracked Rackets writers. I used to be a part of that team, and now that I have time on my hands, I'm really looking forward to doing that as well. So it's a list of options available for you on Patreon, and we really are looking forward to getting that launched. The official launch date, I believe, will be this Wednesday. Now, there will be some cool content released in that moment as well, but we look forward to adding more and more to this Patreon as we continue to go. And hey, we get enough response, enough subscribers. Jamie McDonald, we will make this house happily a house for four and have you here in Indy as well, because again, we're really excited where things are going on Cracked Rackets, from the pro tennis coverage, the college thing, all of these different things. We want to be on the ground. We want to continue to provide the experience that we hope you listeners have enjoyed. And of course, we wouldn't be doing any of this if it wasn't for you, the listener, who we've been so appreciative of riding this journey out with us, the different developments these podcasts have taken, the demand we have for them. So shout out to you guys for helping us get to a point where we can make this happen. And I know, Jamie, again, I speak for everyone at Cracked Rackets. We're really excited for this.
Absolutely. My one piece of advice: become a patron so that you can submit questions, so that you don't just have to listen to us ask and answer our own questions all the time. Give us some fresh input. We want that perspective. So when it comes time for those mailbag episodes that you'll have exclusive access to, submit us the best questions, because, clearly Gruskins aren't cutting it. I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, we do good take, bad take, hot take. Not only because of this, but that's one of those things that I don't show you, you don't show me yours beforehand, because we're on this podcast talking tennis each and every day. I know what you think. You know exactly what I think. Hopefully you listeners have grown accustomed to my sorts of thoughts as well, though we want to keep things spicy for you. So different sorts of questions, as you mentioned, too. Avoid the group think. We'll say that's not like Rothman and I will text, and I'll send him a bet, or I'll send him a take on a match, and he'll be like, dude, I was about to send you that same thing. And it's just like, yeah, well, I want to hear, what I always refer to him, but my friend Hudson Hatfield, what does Hudson think about this match? What does he have to say? And, of course, there are different levels of things, different interactions we can have through this Patreon lever that we didn't have before. And we were really looking forward to doing that. We're really looking forward now that I'm in Indy. I can't escape West up and say, no, I can't. I have a work thing, when in reality, I just want to sleep. So we're hopefully going to be doing these video pods more often, right? At least once a week. It seems like something that should be easy to facilitate. Next time I'll be cleanly shaven. I'll have a haircut. I'm letting it all get unruly before I have to be all nice and tucked before the ITA, make a fool of myself in front of the top 16 teams in the country. And of course, we have that on the horizon. I will be recording a mini break later tonight to recap all of the college action, get you listeners ready for the crazy week that will be the crazy next 2 weeks of college tennis. Women's kickoff this weekend, men's kickoff next weekend. 3 ATP tournaments this week. The Dallas Challenger. We'll be talking about that on the mini break as well. For all of that content, go to our website, crackrackets.com. You can find it on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I don't think I missed anything, Jamie, but any final thoughts before we wrap this bad boy up?
I feel like we've gotten away from it, but Australian Open was phenomenal. Only looking forward to it from French. I feel like that was like 30 minutes ago, but just to ground us here a tad bit. Australian Open was a ton of fun. Looking forward to the French Open, where, as you mentioned, the times won't be as crazy to watch matches. Only looking forward to 2020. Big things for sure. Crack rackets and the tennis.
I'm glad you talked about the tennis. Yes, phenomenal Australian Open. I think that was the ideal start to our slam season, and minus the time difference. Again, if we can get those same sorts of results moving forward, we're in for a really, really fun 2020 year. Last thing I want to do with you, you mentioned that French Open, so let's have a little fun. We don't endorse gambling, of course, but we do enjoy that aspect of the sport. So I want to talk a little gambling with you. I want you to try and guess the Bovada lines right now for our French Open favorites, because of course they are out. Can you guess right now the top, we'll say 5 odds for the French Open?
Just who?
Yeah, who are the top 5 right now?
On the men's side.
On the men's side. You can guess the women too.
It's going to be Nadal.
Nadal number 1. Hold on. Nadal number 1, minus 110. Team number 3, plus 400.
Team number 3, Djokovic 2.
Djokovic 2, plus 300. Now these next 2 are really interesting.
I'm going to say Zverev's 5.
Good for you. Zverev plus 2,000, number 5. Can you guess who's number 4? I think this is the one you like the most.
Yeah, who did they put in here? I'm clearly blanking on somebody. There's no way they can't be. Did they put Fed at 4?
Federer, number 7. He's behind Daniil Medvedev.
I was honestly going to be annoyed. Yeah. I was honestly going to be annoyed if they put Fed at 4.
Number 4, Stefanos Tsitsipas, plus 1,400.
Wow.
You know what's crazy? Okay. Berrettini is number 9. He, Andy, and Stan Wawrinka all have the same odds.
Take Wawrinka, for sure.
And after you get to below Wawrinka, it just gets crazy. I mean, some of these guys are crazy. On the women's side, guess who's number 1? Let's see if you can guess it. For the first time ever, someone not named Serena is number 1. Can you guess who that player is?
Barty.
Ashley Barty plus 900. She's number 3. Simona Halep number 1 at plus 500.
Okay.
Serena right now 8-1. I'm just saying you're never going to get Serena at 8-1. So if you're one of those Serena's getting 24 this year, hit that immediately. Muguruza hot take plus 900. Burton's plus 1,000. I'm looking down this list. Kenin plus 3,000 on the clay. That is tasty. Sakari plus 3,300. I'm interested in. Kim Kleischer's plus 15,000. I'm not interested in that at all.
I got it.
Yeah, but these are some really interesting odds right now. I'm just saying, if you think it's going to be someone new, now, Ashley Barty plus 900 again. It's not going to. If you think she's going to repeat as the French Open champion, now's the time to hit that number, because once we get into clay season, all of these numbers adjust.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right.
With some healthy betting tips, some more.
Yeah, exactly. Just one extra tangent to wrap up this Australian Open. Fitting, but for my wonderful co-host, James Foster McDonald, who shout out to you for the 2 weeks of lunch mini breaks you put in, for our super producers, Max Fligner and Daniel Westhoff, who have an F of a job to do as always, and shout out to them as well. None of these podcasts happen without the work they do behind the scenes. For our friends at Diadem and Aero Bar, and for our listeners who are unaware, use our promo code CR50 to check out that Diadem tennis gear. Aero Bar, it's cracked 30, CRACKED 30 to get your first order of Aero Bar energy bars for 30% off. And of course, from everyone here at Cracked Rackets and the Tennis Channel Podcast Network, I'm your host, Alex Gruskin. Jamie, what do we tell the listeners?
Hey, great shot.
And we will see you all next time. Hope you enjoyed the Australian Open, everyone.